For the last couple of years, everybody has been talking about Ariana Grande and Ethan Slater's affair when they were filming the movie Wicked. Now, last night was the world premiere and you got to see what they were like in real life.
We got the tea. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Life Uncut. I'm Brittany.
And I'm Laura. Welcome back, everybody, to a Tuesday episode. Britt, you and Keeshia hung out for the entire weekend.
We did.
As like little besties.
It wasn't planned. Keeshia just came over and didn't leave. For like 3 days. No.
I said this last episode as well. I feel so jealous that like life doesn't allow me to do that anymore. Like I miss the days of like catching up with a girlfriend and then just staying with them for the whole weekend and like one plan rolling into another plan. And then you guys messaged and you were like, I'm at Blackwood we're going to go to Blackwood and get breakfast. And I was like, I'm coming. Just let me figure out how to ditch my children.
And you're like, hang on, Matt's not here. I can't ditch them.
And I was like, no. And then the plans changed. So we were going to Blackwood. We were going to get breakfast, sit down. Then I got a call and Keeshia was like, actually, there's no tables. We're just going to get takeaway and walk. And I was like,
I can't do that.
This 3-year-old ain't going to walk. She's not going to walk anywhere. My knees hurt. So then I went home.
Wait till my knees hurt too. No, but it's the idea of having fluid plans. Like, gone are the days for you when you have kids. You have to have you have to have a plan, and it has to be pre-booked in, and you have to stick to it. And I totally get that. We had 0 plans that rolled into a weekend of plans, and that's because we had no responsibilities and like nothing else. No one else I had to keep alive. You know,
well, Delilah, but she can just kind of go with it. She's cool.
She just trots along and follows us.
It's not that though. It's not about having to like have plans. It's about having to do things that the kids will enjoy. Like surprisingly, the kids are not going to enjoy like the Bondi to Bronte walk during Sculptures by the Sea and a long like 5-kilometer walk with a almond oat latte or whatever it is. You know what I mean? They just don't. It's not for them. So
they could have a baby chino.
So then I found myself at the kids' pool for the entire weekend.
But it actually makes me realize I'm so excited. So over the Christmas period, I'm going to see Ben in Romania, but Sherry and Jay and my new little niece, like my sister's new daughter, Maya is going to come to Romania. So they're going to stay with us for a week in Ben's 2-bedroom flat. I'm really, really excited to like spend that time with him. And I said to Ben, this will be really great insight because Ben's never been around a kid, right? But he thinks he has, which is the funniest part.
How can you think you have if you've never actually been around a baby?
Well, this is how the conversation went. Ready? Come along the ride with me. Do you think we should have kids? Like, do you want kids? And he's like, yeah, I think I want kids. I think I'd be a great dad. And I was like, have you been around kids much? And he's like, yeah, I've been around heaps of kids. And I'm like, what do you mean by being around them?
He's like, I've been to a shopping centre before. There was a woman that walked past with a stroller.
I saw them. They sit in the stands at the football field.
I used to watch Rugrats. No, he'd be like, I have heaps of friends with kids. And I was like, yeah, but what's the most length of time? And he'll be like, oh, I've been to lunch with them before and like held them and stuff. And I'm like, fucking lol, Kano. You have not been around a kid. Like that is not a clear indication if you want a child or not.
Yeah, but I also argue that, like, and I kind of empathize with what Ben's saying because I don't think that being around other people's children is what necessarily makes you want to or not want to have kids because, and maybe for some people it does. Some people really have that maternal pull and every time that they're around their friends' children, they have this real like, overwhelming feeling of okay, I really want to have my own children. But like I never had that. And I think there's a lot of people that never have that. Obviously, I love my friends' children, kids, my friends' children, even that sounded weird. I love my sister's kids, like, the other kids in my life that are not my own. I love them, but I never ever had the maternal pull by being around them. Ever.
Yeah, but it's not.
Ever.
I don't want him to be around the kid to see if the maternal pull's there. That's not what I want. I just don't think he understands the level of like what you have to do 24/7 to like, I think he just thinks you can put it down for a while and like go about your day and then come back and get it. No, you
kind of can when they're really little. Just put them in a pram, put them in the corner.
But do you think anyone ever knows though? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you think you had a good idea of what it was going to be like, Laura, before you had them?
Guys, I still think about this, right? So, I mean, it's so many years have passed now and Marlie's fine, so no one's going to come for me. But I still remember when Marlie was like 4.5 months old and I would take her to work with me every day. So she came with me.
Is that when you put her back in the post office and return to sender?
Tried to shove her back inside me. It's like, I'm done.
Matt's like, what are you doing? You're like, she won't be in there.
Can you not gyrate?
She's trying to squish
thinking about
up.
a child.
Okay, so I was taking Marlie to work with me every day, into Tony May, into the office. And
Life Uncut.
And Life Uncut. She came with me everywhere. Downstairs.
That's what happens when you're a newborn.
and you don't get maternity leave. So downstairs is the shop at Tony May. I'm guessing most people have not been in there. And upstairs is the office. So she was asleep. She was in the pram, and I left her in the kitchen, which is at the back of the shop. And there's kind of like saloon, like cowboy doors that kind of swing open, so you can see below the doors, right? If you're standing inside the shop. So I'm upstairs. I'm doing work, and I hear everyone starts screaming, and then a baby starts screaming. And I was like, what the f*** is going on? And then I hear this woman go, oh my God, there's a baby on the floor. And Marlie had, I mean, that's how we discovered she was rolling. She had rolled out of the bassinet, fallen out of the bugaboo, and landed just like starfish on the ground as a 4-month-old baby.
You have never in 5 years told me
Yeah,
this.
because I was horrified.
Sink or swim, Marlie. Come on, get into the workplace.
I ran downstairs and no one had even picked her up. She was just in the kitchen on the ground crying. I picked her up and I was like, there. I looked like such an incompetent mother.
Well, first of all, who has a saloon?
Well, no, like saloon doors. Like not a saloon.
It's like you know when you walk in, it's like, you baby's supposed to be here.
I love that that's the part that you hung on to from that story.
Well, the other thing didn't surprise me. Leaving a baby alone in the kitchen that rolled out didn't surprise me. It was the having a saloon that got me. Yeah.
I'd be interested to know like a poll of how many mums out there like
Have a saloon.
No, like how many times did your kid roll off the bed by accident? Like did it happen once? It was like did it never happen to you? Are you a better parent than me?
I think it happens all the time. One of my favorite
I'm not endorsing it. This is not my vibe for the week. Let your kid roll off the bed.
Well, it's character building. One of my favorite things to watch online, and it's not the videos where the kids get hurt. Have you seen those videos where it's just a montage of parents that have saved their kid at the last minute, and not saved them from like a car or something, but like a kid's about to roll off the lounge and the dad reaches out and has it by one leg in the air. I love that stuff, but I'm like, wow, how quickly it can happen.
The near misses.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one likes the actual hits. It's just the near misses. Okay, well, look, not to make this too kid focused for the start of this, but something that's very big in our life at the moment, which I wanted to share with you guys. So Marlie's starting school next year.
Wild.
I know, 5 years, considering that the day that we started this podcast, I think I was like 7 months pregnant at the time.
You were birthing her, yeah.
And then we got our first season out when she was just born, and now she's starting school. So I kind of like benchmark a lot of our milestones off the fact that like Marlie's at the age that she's at.
Yeah, and that means that so many of you guys, your listeners, I mean, we know you come along the journey with us in our love lives and everything that happens, but like
so much.
You've been there. Like our listeners have been there since she was born.
I know.
They don't know you really before.
So she's starting school, and we had orientation last week for her. And this wasn't orientation for her. So like they have like a kids orientation next week. She starts that. But this was orientation for the parents. So all the parents go and they sit in the school hall, and like we got told about the canteen, about after school care. And there was a little kindergartner who got up and she did a speech around how much she loves going to school and all the things that she learnt at school.
She did a speech at
She did a
5.
speech and she was reading it. Amazing. Then they had like the year 6 school captains who did their little speech as well. And it really gave me so much nostalgia for when I was at school. Like, do you remember being in year 6 or being in kindergarten and getting a buddy and getting paired with like another kid to show you around the school?
Like the older kid.
Yeah. So when I was in year 6, I didn't get a buddy because I wasn't well enough behaved. I was too naughty.
I had 2.
And I didn't get it. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. That's probably what happened in my school.
Do you know what's the craziest thing though? When I was in year 6, my buddy who was in kindergarten, one of the 2, I still follow her on Instagram. She's awesome. I love her. She has 2 children. And I'm like, you know when you have that moment where you're like, oh, I thought I was still a child, but you're like, I was meant to look after you when you were in kindergarten, and now you have 2 children of your own.
You're like, how do you have 2 children when I'm still a teenager? Oh, that's right. I'm in my 30s.
That's right. Child pregnancy.
I was school captain, so I was probably too busy to have a buddy.
I always forget that you were school captain.
Yeah, I was running the school, so it was a pretty big job.
I didn't see that coming.
I was high school and primary school. I was an overachiever. Yeah, it's hard to see now. I get that because now I can't get my shit together.
My mum had to beg our school principal not to expel me because I punched in the face.
No wonder you had no buddy.
I was in year 4.
I punched someone in the face too.
She told a boy named that I wanted to have sex with him, and I was in year 4, and then I found out what that meant. So I punched her in the face in front of the assembly.
How does she even know that in year 4?
Who knows?
I'm concerned. I punched a boy in the face, and I'll never forget it. I can. It's so funny because when something is so pivotal in your life and outside of who you are, you just never forget it. I can picture exactly where we were outside of the canteen, probably in year 4 as well. I picture exactly what happened. I can remember what he said. And he said this really mean thing about my brother. And I said, say it again and I'll punch you in the face. And he just looked at me and said it again. And I just went, boom, and punched him in the face. And I was like, it was like one of those things where I was like, only I can say shit about my, you know, those things I'm like, I probably agree with you, but you can't say it. I can say it. And I got in so much trouble.
And you were still the school captain and I got almost expelled.
Yeah.
God,
For legal
things are different.
reasons, I would like to say that on this podcast, we don't endorse children rolling on the floor when they're babies or punching people in the face.
No. Violence is never the answer, kids.
Okay, well, I've got some goss for you. Last night was the world premiere of Wicked. World premiere. We were the first people in the entire world to see the new Wicked movie with Ariana Grande, Ethan Slater, Jonathan Bailey. I don't know why Australia gets picked to be the world leader.
I have a theory. And I didn't think about this until this morning because last night I was really like, wow, of all the places,
Can
Australia?
Last night, Keeshia did come up with a theory, so I'm interested to see your new theory. Last night, Keisha's like, I wonder if we're the world first because of the time difference, because we're ahead of the rest of the world.
That wasn't my brightest moment. I have rethought that one. I think it's because the movie Wicked and the Wizard of Oz stories are all based in Oz. So they've brought the premiere to Oz.
But Gladiator's world premiere last week was in Oz too.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. I have no theories for Gladiator, but my current theory is that they must have launched it in Australia because of the Oz connection.
We'll go with that.
More interestingly is the fact that this is the movie that Ariana Grande and Ethan Slater had an affair on. So you guys might remember we were speaking about this. We talked about this affair that went down and the backlash, the reputational damage that happened off the back of it. For those of you who don't remember, Ethan Slater, he was married to Lily J and they had a 3-month-old baby when the rumors of an affair with Ariana Grande came out. And I would say that it's not uncommon for affairs to happen on set, but it is uncommon for it to happen when you have a 3-month-old baby at home. And the backlash to it was so quick and so severe. People were calling Ariana Grande a homewrecker. And Lily J came out. She did a very damning article with Page Six, an interview at the time, and she called Ariana Grande not a girl's girl. You got to see them together last night. Like they've very rarely been seen together as a couple. And now they're on their promotional tour for the movie that was responsible for them both leaving their respective partners.
And you should have seen the tens of thousands of people, of fans that came out to see the exact same thing. Like, I shouldn't say the exact same thing. They probably are just fans of them and wanted to see them.
None of them wanted to see the movies. They just wanted to get a glimpse of the most sordid affair of our generation.
I was expecting it to be like a kind of normal movie premiere. I knew Ariana was going to be there because Britt had told me. I just don't think I set my expectations accurate at all. As we got there, we had to get our Uber driver to drop us off like 4 blocks up the road. There were thousands and thousands of people lining the street. They didn't have passes to go and see the movie because there were also some tickets given out to people who were really big fans of Wicked and stuff. There were a lot of people going to see the movie as well, but there were thousands of people lining the streets just waiting to get that. It must have only been 15 seconds of when they get out of their security cars and walk the yellow brick road into the theatre.
I've never seen anything like it. Was like you were a salmon all pushed together and you could barely walk. Like it was like you were at a concert.
It's like going to Vivid.
Worse. But they were
No prams in this one.
But it was so fascinating because Ethan and Ariana were together. Like they were holding hands and it was really interesting to see after like 2 years. And this is the only thing that makes what they did remotely better is that you're like, okay, if you end up together and get married and you ended up being soulmates, it almost becomes more palatable, like more acceptable. If they just had this affair and then broke up like 3 months later and they ruined all their lives, then you want to hate on them forever. But it was interesting to see how I think a lot of people just forget that it happened. I mean, we don't because we're in the media and we talk about it, but I think a lot of people, and that went to show with the amount of fans that came just screaming and crying, I think a lot of people forget that it even happens.
What I thought was interesting was that, so how it worked is that when we walked into the State Theatre, there are different levels to the theatre and we were on the lower level. And so everyone eventually takes their seats and then the cast of the movie were introduced onto the stage and they did a little bit of a Q&A with some of the cast members, including this from Ariana Grande.
Give people the chance because there's so many layers to everything and there's so much humanness and context that gets erased these these days. And I feel like I hope it inspires people to lead with empathy and with more love. And maybe they'll meet someone like Elphaba who will pop their bubble someday.
But as they were standing on stage, and the thing that I was really interested by was, do you remember when Don't Worry Darling was going through all of their controversy? That was the Harry Styles and Olivia Wilde controversy. And whenever they were doing the PR circuit, anywhere they were, they almost somewhat deliberately kept them separate, like quite far away from each other. And I was curious about how they were going to approach all of the PR that they were doing for Wicked. So on the stage, Ethan was quite far to the left and Ariana was almost as far as you could be to the right. There were like maybe 4 people in between the two of them on the stage. And I did find that quite interesting. But then later, before the film came on, the actors, because it was the world premiere, it was the first time that they were probably seeing it with a crowd, if not seeing it in total. They actually went to the middle level of the theatre, and Ariana and Ethan were holding hands as they were walking down to the seats, and then they sat down together and watched the whole film together as a couple.
I think it's very different though, and I think it's the proximity of the controversy, because when you think about someone like Harry Styles and Olivia Wilde, they were in the midst of the storm. They were literally in the eye of the storm with the controversy around their relationship, and that came out during the promotional tour. This affair that they had, the breakdown of their relationships, Ariana's breakdown of her marriage and Ethan's breakdown of his marriage, that all happened almost a year and a half ago now, or 2 years ago. And so I think having that distance between is what has allowed them to kind of move into the premiere and everything and be a united front as a couple without having the level of hatred, because we know like time simmers everything down a little bit.
But one thing, and I'm going to do a spoiler here for people. I'm going to do a spoiler for one line in the movie. So if you don't want to listen, fast forward now a minute. The movie was brilliant. Like, I genuinely loved it. I got goosebumps. I was in it. I was it's a musical.
What about for people who hate musicals?
You still
Guilty.
would love it. I think you would enjoy it.
It's the most amazing cinematography I have ever seen of any film.
It's brilliant.
It was
brilliantly done.
exceptional.
So keep in mind that Ariana and Ethan are upstairs. Like, they're in the crowd watching, right? Everyone is quiet. And Ethan's character is pining over Ariana in the movie. And at one point, she asks him to do something for her. She's like, can you go do this for me? And he's like, yes. And she's like, oh my God, that's so amazing. And he looks at her and everything's silent. And he goes, there is nothing I wouldn't do to be with you. And it was such a pointed statement, considering that he left his entire family to be with her. And the audience, and they're up there, and the audience, some people like they gasped, some people laughed, some people
it was like loud,
like collectively, because people were so shocked that they made a choice, a directorial choice, to keep that line in there.
I turned to Britt and I was like, I cannot believe after all of the shit that they had to go through filming this movie and all of the bad PR that they had to navigate, they left that in.
But maybe that was a strategy. Maybe that's part of the PRable. And, it's interesting because I think that your take on this is that they haven't, or that they've overcome the reputational damage, where I would say from the outset, and the way that media still talks about them, that they haven't. And the fact that they've been able to, so like they've kept themselves private for the past year, was absolutely intentional. The amount of hate that the two of them received, all of the articles that came out, and the Page 6 article in particular, if you guys remember, was particularly damning. It was the interview with Ethan's ex-wife. Like, you can't outrun that. And so I think the only way to try and distance yourself from it is literally distance yourself from it with the space and the time that they have.
Yeah, but I don't think that they have overcome the reputational damage. That's why I think that they slowly are, but I don't think they have completely. But that's why I was so shocked that at the start that they kept the line in, because if they had completely overcome it, then the line wouldn't matter so much. But because they're still in the thick of it, I feel like all the line was doing was doubling down on it. But I also, Keeshia and I had this discussion. Keeshia was like, I cannot believe they left that in. And I said, I can. It's because to me, it's a talking point.
I didn't think it was that needed. I don't think the movie would have been any different if they had have removed that line. And so they have made a pretty active decision to leave it in there. Maybe it's because of the press that it will get, because people are going to talk. I mean, I was particularly shocked about it. As we walked out, I was like, how about them leaving that in? That's pretty crazy.
I do wonder whether the affair will have a positive or negative impact on the box office, like on people watching it. Are people going to watch it because they're going to want to see them falling in love and see what it was about their chemistry or their relationship that made him walk away from his like sweetheart? Or is it going to be a situation where people, because cheating is something that we feel so morally, like it's so strong, like people's perceptions and feelings around cheating, like there's nothing that kind of parallels except for like actual heinous crimes. So like, is that going to have an impact where people go, out of my own moral judgment, I'm not going to go and see this because I can't support something that was born out of a cheating scandal?
Nah, people's morals aren't high enough in this stuff. They 100%, it is a tactic that many movies and many PR agencies use. People will want to go and see because for years we've been told that they fell in love on set, right? People want to see what it was. I was shocked at how little interactions they had in the movie. He's not a key character. And I said that to Keeshia. I said, wow, he wasn't the main character. Like I'm really shocked that the outcome was them being together and leaving each other. It's very similar to Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell. So, you know, the recent movie that came out, Anyone But You, it's been panned as like the most terrible movie.
I loved it.
I loved it too.
I loved it.
So enjoyable.
If you read any, we love a rom-com, but my point is, if you read any review, it's like terrible script, terrible acting, terrible plot. Like people didn't like it. But for the whole PR tour, the question on everyone's lips are they together? Did his girlfriend leave because something happened? Has she left her fiance? Because they were playing it up. People wanted to then go and see the movie more because they thought that maybe in real life it had translated. They came out after and were like, yeah, like you lean into it. You give the people what they want.
Yeah, Glenn Powell came out and he said that he definitely lent into that storyline. But also it makes you question, like, is it a storyline? Is it just something that's PRable? I don't know. I mean, it's a very easy way of covering up something that might have happened. But on that, I fucking loved that movie. And I think that anyone who said it was shit just doesn't like a cheesy rom-com, because I watched it on the plane and I was like, this is brilliant. I love them.
I do think that the key difference between those, and even with the Olivia Wilde, Harry Styles kind of dilemma as well, I do think that the key difference is what you spoke about at the very start, Laws, and that's the fact that Ethan's ex-wife now, or wife at the time, had a 3-month-old baby. And so we can feel very different about cheating when it's just like adults involved and, you know, their feelings are going to get hurt. But I think it's a really, really different thing for us to grasp when there's children involved, especially when they're so young. And for anyone who may have been through that process themselves of having a baby and imagining what their life was like with a 3-month-old and having to watch you, one of the most famous women in the world, be with your partner. Yeah. I was particularly interested to see their interactions last night and I left more confused.
There wasn't a layer, though, to this whole Ariana Grande and Ethan absolute saga that kind of ensued. And that was because as much as there was the public backlash, there was almost the doubling down that happened by Ariana when she released her, what people considered the Affair album.
Like
and
the
there was,
Homewrecker.
yeah, the Homewrecker album. There was one song in there called
Yes and.
Yes. Was it Yes and?
Yeah, it's like yes and say that shit with your chest. Like,
yeah, sure. And then there was another one which was around like The Boy Is Mine. So like there was a few songs in that album which showed little remorse for the impact that she had on that relationship. And so when you have like the heartbroken ex-wife on one hand doing like long form interviews talking about how Ariana has destroyed her life and her relationships and her marriage. And then you have Ariana on the other hand releasing albums which is kind of like, I don't really care, I'm going to get what I want. That is what really villainized her. And I think meant that firstly, people had the reaction to the cheating, but people had the reaction to the mean girl, which is what she became from that album.
And to be fair, they have always maintained that they didn't cheat, there was no infidelity, that they were just friends, castmates, close, whatever, and that they were never physically together. I just think, I mean, allegedly.
I don't think we can get sued for saying that people had an affair. Allegedly. Everyone else has. The entire internet did it
But
first.
I'm just saying that's also what they're saying. They're just saying that they knew each other, but they weren't physically together until after he left. The last thing to come out of this on a high note is that I got to see my hall pass. One of, there's a few.
Speaking of affairs.
One of my hall passes and my crush in real life.
this one's probably the safest because he's gay.
Yeah, he's gay. Can a hall pass still be a hall pass if he doesn't ever want to touch me?
Absolutely. It's a fantasy. Brittany, your hall pass could be fucking Big Bird for all anyone minds. Like
That's sick, Laura.
Bestiality gets weird.
could it be, what was that dinosaur, the purple one?
Also sick.
Barney.
Why? It's
Barney.
called bestiality. It's illegal.
Why are you into Barney?
Why are you into having sex? Why do you want to think about me having sex with Barney?
I reckon if Barney was real, Barney would be hot.
No, so Jonathan Bailey, I think I'm not alone in this. Jonathan Bailey is from Bridgerton. He is a beautiful, beautiful man. I think I fell in love with his character on Bridgerton.
Sure.
I don't know. But it was really nice to see him. But I don't know if I should change my hall pass considering that he only dates men.
I think it is safer to have a hall pass that you're never going to have the opportunity to have sex with. Like that's because like it becomes a problem if it's someone who could potentially be attainable and might also want to return serve.
Yeah, I think Ben's happy. Yeah. Ben's like, fuck, go for it, babe. Try your luck.
Well, speaking of cheating, and I know that this has kind of become a common theme of this episode, but there's something that is happening on TikTok at the moment, and it is a real trend that has taken over the algorithm. And that is something that is called loyalty testing. Now, if you haven't heard of loyalty testing, it's had over 125 million tags on TikTok. It's also very prevalent on Instagram as well, and it may be coming to your algorithm soon. But the way that it works is basically there are profiles and users on both platforms who you can pay money to loyalty test your partner. So if you are unsure as to whether they would be faithful if they were put in the position where a hot woman or a hot man was flirting with them, you can now pay someone to do that and to be that person and to get the cold hard proof for you. Now, I guess I had a few questions about this because the moral and ethical issues with this are very, very obvious. But I think it's interesting to unpack the how and the why does someone get to a place where they feel as though they need to loyalty test their relationship. And also, what's the impact of doing so when you or if you find out that somebody has or could be unfaithful to you? Because is it as impactful and is it still infidelity if you have technically entrapped your partner into the situation that they're in? Have a listen to this.
I used to do loyalty tests. Girls would have me DM their boyfriends and flirt with them to see if they would flirt back or stay loyal. I would slide in by pretending like I was moving to whatever city he lived in and then asking him to be my tour guide. You'll be shocked how many guys fell for this. Like as if I wanted Jake from Kappa Sig to show me around like Denver. Like, I have maps, babe. I'm good. Then the girl would, like, basically just tell me everything to say, and then I would eventually ask if he had a girlfriend, and if he lied, then I gave her the screenshots, and she could just, like, break up with him. I had to stop. Some of them got depressing, and also I realized a lot of guys out there are idiots. Like, the conversations I have with these guys, I don't know how you guys do it. I don't know how you guys date these guys. Like, you guys are in the trenches here.
I just think it's wild that this is people's jobs, that people are making money from testing other people's relationships.
If you can make money from selling your feed online, I am not surprised that you can make money from trying to tempt someone's partner to cheat with you.
The thing is, a lot of people out there can see the enticing effect that selling your feet for money would make, right? They're attached to the bottom of you. You don't have to put your face in it. You can make bank.
Yeah, and a lot of people have foot fetishes, but a lot of people cheat as well.
It doesn't surprise me how many people cheat. It surprises me how many people would want to go to the level of trying to find out for a multitude of reasons if their partner's cheating.
So my take on this, though, is like I said, it's very obvious to everybody here that it is not healthy to loyalty test your partner. But I would also say that to get to that point where you feel as though you need to loyalty test your partner, it's probably been a long road of decaying your trust, of feeling as though you can't believe your surroundings, like you have the intuition that something's going on, but they're telling you that you're crazy. So I would say that and I think for anyone who's been in a really toxic relationship where they've been cheated on, you can kind of remove yourself from it a little bit and understand how someone might get to the point where they feel as though this is their only option to figure out whether or not their partner is truthful or not.
No, I do understand it. I do understand why some people are like, I just need to know.
I need to know.
It's easy for us to sit back and say, if you feel like you don't trust your partner, then you shouldn't be in the relationship. We've all done it. We've all gone back to cheaters. We know what it's like to be sucked into that toxic vortex. Some people need that one little bit of evidence, the nail in the coffin, to be like, yes, this is what I needed to actually walk away, like to actively see you engage with someone else, pretend I don't exist. That's what I want. But I think it goes to a deeper level too. I don't think it's easy for our brain to go first to that being the reason why people do loyalty tests. But I think there's another aspect, which is people feeling insecure in themselves, and I'm not putting this blame on anyone, but there are a lot of people that have trouble trusting in a relationship due to nothing that their partner is doing, but simply due to the past that they've experienced. So maybe they've been cheated on horrifically multiple times. Maybe they have huge trust issues that they have taken into their new relationship. And maybe it's just like well, this has happened to me this many times. I'm just going to make sure that he's a good one. The problem with that is, how is your partner going to feel? So if they pass the loyalty test, which the testers have said loads of people pass, like,
Yeah, a lot of people's like, no, sorry, I've got a girlfriend or block or whatever.
exactly. So then the loyalty tester will screenshot that, send it to them and be like, he passed. They passed. She passed. What happens then if you do pass, but your partner finds out that you loyalty tested them? That is another level of betrayal on them, because then they're going to say, well, you don't trust me. So they've lost trust in you. It's like trust is a two-way street.
Of course. I mean, could you imagine being in a relationship where you found out that your partner paid money to have some random person on the internet test your loyalty, test whether or not you would be tempted? I think for this, though, the real issue is...
Oh, that could be a reverse card. Like reverse, I'm leaving you. You don't trust me enough that you've tested me.
Yeah. I was just trying to think of like how Matt would respond to that, and it would not be good.
He'd probably laugh.
No, I don't think he would. But I think the issue with this is that for me, this is an itch that will never be scratched, right? Because I think if you are in a relationship where you're suspicious and you have that intuition that something is wrong, or you feel as though your partner may be unfaithful if presented with the opportunity, even if you get back a response that they didn't do it or that they passed that sort of test, I don't think that it will satisfy the feeling of uncertainty. I don't think that it will instantly absolve. And the reason why I say that is because it's kind of like if you've ever found yourself in a situation where you're looking at your partner's phone. And I know that a lot of people will relate to this. If you've ever been in a relationship where you found yourself checking their phone because you think they're being unfaithful, even if you don't find something one time, you'll probably look again, because just because you didn't find something one time doesn't mean that instantly that feeling, that intuition, that like, holy shit, I can't trust my reality, is actually satisfied by not uncovering anything. And I just think that this is the scratch that can't be itched by trying to get an answer.
The itch that can't be scratched.
The itch that can't be scratched. You can't scratch that itch. No, but really, like you'll never be satisfied. Even if they pass, if your self-doubt is so strong, it will never be satisfied by this type of test.
I actually think that there's certain relationships I've been in, one particular that was just very, very bad, and I was bad in it as well. And I remember being at a point where like I never paid anyone to do a loyalty test, but had it have been around, my initial reaction now is like, if you would ever actually want to do that, you've got so many problems in your relationship that you should just break up anyway.
Obviously.
But in the stage of my relationship that I was at with this, it was a terrible, terrible relationship. And I actually think I would have been in a position where I would have rather found out that he was cheating than found out nothing. I was so suspicious of everything that was going on. I'd been gaslit so badly that I genuinely was questioning every aspect of my reality. And I think just having the evidence of something would have made me feel as though I wasn't losing my mind,
Yeah.
There would have been satisfaction in that, even though it was hurtful information. So I feel very sorry for the people who are the ones reaching out, because I guess we can kind of judge them for not trusting their partners and should just break up anyway. But I think when you're in that point of the relationship, it can just be very awful for everyone involved.
Well, it also comes from a sense of hopelessness and desperation. Yeah. And to me, like, it makes me sad that 125 million people have created content off the back of this, because that's where they've found themselves in their relationships, at a point where they have no other choice because they feel as though they need to test their partners.
I also think it leans in, Laura. I don't think 125 million people are doing it for that reason. We also live in a society where we want to make content. The people that want to watch this shit, I think the fact that this content is available also pushes people to make the content. I think people would be getting this idea to do this when this idea never would have even popped into their head. They're like, I might do a loyalty test. I think we are such an impressionable generation that there'll be people doing it that wouldn't normally do it as well.
Oh my God, if you're doing this
For
content, if you're doing this for content, not because you're at a place in your relationship where you're just so uncertain, you need clarity and you need like a reason to leave, all that makes me think is that imagine if you did this and then the outcome was that your partner failed the loyalty test. Like, what do you then do with that information? How do you then proceed forward? Like, if I was to loyalty test Matt because I just wanted to talk about it on the podcast and then he told some chick he wasn't married, didn't have kids, like, what do you do with that information?
You go viral.
Yeah, exactly. But
You need the creator fund here so you can financially profit from
Everything for
that.
clicks.
it's also not reliable evidence of fidelity or infidelity. Like having one person slide into your DM and hit you up, there's a high chance that they're not interested in the person anyway. They're not attracted to the person. Maybe they're too busy with all their other partners they're cheating on you with to add another one to the mix. Like, I don't think it's the evidence that people want.
I mean, I know everyone's very, very different, but this whole idea of loyalty testing, I find it absolutely fascinating. And I find it fascinating for the reason of purposely trying to entrap your partner, especially if you think everything is reasonably okay in your relationship, purposely trying to entrap your partner. And is it still considered infidelity if nothing was ever going to amount from it? If it is literally a trap that has been coerced and conditioned to try and get the outcome of cheating, is it still as bad as if they had gone out and just done it spontaneously?
Absolutely. I don't think there's a difference between spontaneous cheating or what did you just call it?
Entrapment.
Intentional cheating. No, like intentional spontaneous cheating, right? There's two types. Well, there's multiple types. I don't think there's a difference. If they commit to the cheating, it doesn't matter if they went to find it or if they responded to a stimulus that was presented to them out of the blue. At the end of the day, you still cheated.
I kind of see this similar to, when we get a lot of messages from people for Ask Uncut, and it's essentially them saying, I've gone through my partner's phone and I've found this thing and I don't know how to bring it up with them because I feel really bad about the thing that I did. If we're comparing entrapment or like trying to find out whether your partner's cheating with they were cheating and they got caught, to me, yes, they're both sins, but one's a lot bigger than the other. Like trying to find out, the entrapment part to me doesn't seem as bad of a break of the relationship.
I feel like that about checking someone's phone, but I don't feel like that about paying someone to intentionally flirt with your partner.
Yeah, it's pretty full on.
So and that's the problem. I guess like we've always sort of said, okay, well, what's the worst of two evils? Is it the fact that you went through their phone or is it the fact that you found something? It's the fact that you found something.
100%.
But in this instance, I actually think it's the action of paying someone to be that person to try and like tempt the partner is also equally as bad. I think especially, okay, let's say especially if that person doesn't do anything, especially if that person behaves in a way that's absolutely concurrent with like the things that they've committed to the relationship, right? If they've said, no, I have a girlfriend, whatever. That is such a level of breaking trust that I kind of akin that to a type of cheating as well.
Yeah, but then it depends on the outcome. Because if they do say, yeah, let's fuck, I've got this hotel, then you're going to be like, yes, queen, that is, you knew deep down, that's why you figured this out. Do you know what I mean? Like, it depends on the outcome.
Would you speak like that?
Yeah.
Yes,
I've ever seen
queen.
that.
Yes, you queen.
Do you turn gangster?
You drop that bank. Yeah. No, but that's what I mean. It depends on the outcome as to whether you say that something was worth something. That's anything in life. This is not going to come as a surprise, people. Guys, it goes back to communicate. And I don't mean go and say, hey, are you cheating on me? Because they're not going to say yes. No one is ever going to be like, oh, you got me. I'm so glad you asked. That's never going to happen. But communicate that you feel insecure in a relationship and why. Gauge their response. We say this all the time. The way, if you go to your partner and you present the way you're feeling and the why, their reaction is so telltale to what your relationship is, the respect that they have for the relationship and how they feel about you. Because if they throw that back in your face, if they don't listen, if nothing changes, it's going to tell you a whole lot more anyway. I will always say, have that conversation before you go and employ somebody to try to cheat on your partner. Like, that is never going to be the first thing that I would ever advise anyone to say.
I also just think it depends on how much of a master manipulator you are in a relationship with, because like communicating is absolutely like, yes, hands down. You have to speak to your partner about these things if you're feeling as though that there's a level of distrust or there's a level of uncertainty. But I do think a lot of people find themselves in relationships where that uncertainty comes because the person that they're in that relationship with is a narcissist or is like so deeply toxic and they are so able to lie that means they question their entire reality around them. And I think in those situations, it is almost impossible to get to the bottom of it. It's almost impossible to figure out fact from fiction. I think it comes down to what I said at the start, though. If you are at a point where you feel as though you need to loyalty test your partner, it doesn't matter if they pass. It's not going to satisfy that itch. It's not going to make you believe. Because if you have that much distrust in your relationship, you're going to check those messages again. You're going to find another way to try and prove what it is that you think they're doing in that relationship.
For me, I would never personally do it. And if I felt the need to try to figure out like that if my partner was cheating, I personally wouldn't be in the relationship.
Fuck, man, I've done some crazy shit
You
in my
have.
past relationship. I have done.
You were wild.
I've never paid anyone to try and get to the bottom of it, but I definitely found myself in a relationship where I felt so insane. I did not recognize myself anymore. I got to the point where I was setting up fake Instagram profiles to be able to follow, to figure out what was going on because I couldn't see from my own profile because I'd been blocked on certain things.
You were
Laura,
crazy.
I'd used you know how on Instagram you can tag a location? If it's on a public profile, you can see all of the things that have had that location. And that's one way that I found out that I was being cheated on.
Wow.
Because the girl that he was with posted and tagged the location as well. And I
So
was
you
like,
were-
oh my God, it's her. And like, I think about that now and I'm like, that is craziness. If you have to look at a location tag to see whether someone is with him and you find it, like, I shouldn't have been in that relationship, but I was so destroyed. I had no self-confidence that I wanted evidence of the fact that what I thought was going on was going on. And I went looking for it.
And I guess that's why I'm like, I kind of have empathy for people who, not the people who are doing it for content, but for the people who are doing it for proof. I mean, we've said this from the very first day that we started this podcast. There are some people in the world who will inflame your crazy. You may not be crazy in relationships, but you may meet someone who makes you behave in a way that is absolutely not a version of you that you like, that you're proud of, or that you even identify with. And I think about that person that I became in that relationship, and I was absolutely fucking insane. And I desperately wanted to find truth because I couldn't believe what was happening around me. But yeah, I had literally three separate burner accounts that I had to create in order to follow him, for him to follow me. I was a different person.
And he followed you back.
And he followed me back.
Well, you loyalty tested him yourself.
Without paying the money for
Cost
it.
effective.
Yeah.
Paid yourself, tax deduction.
But it was
I'm
because
just going to move this money around.
he blocked me on certain things. And I thought I had been blocked, but I didn't have the proof of it. He'd also blocked my sister. He'd blocked my friends from seeing certain things.
So you couldn't have been with him then if he was blocking you. Had you broken up?
No. You know how you can like hide certain things? So like he was hiding where he was at, or he was hiding things that he was posting. So he was putting on stories, but he was hiding me and the people in my network from them.
I was just about to say, you are crazy, Laura, if you've broken up with him a year ago and he's blocked you and you're still trying to figure it out.
No. This goes back quite a long time. But like, look, I mean, I guess kind of coming full circle on this, obviously it is wrong and I definitely am not endorsing it, but part of me understands how someone could get there. It is absolutely unhealthy. And if you find yourself there, leave the relationship. But also if you find yourself feeling as though you need to do it, you got to ask yourself, well, what led me to this point?
Should we all do it to our partners?
Fuck no.
Just for content.
I don't want to know.
Come back next week.
No.
No, I'm joking. All right, it's time for Accidentally Unfiltered. This morning I got to work super early and outside of our lobby, they had put up this massive, gorgeous Christmas tree. Naturally, I decided to take a pic and then I noticed there was a guy sleeping underneath it. My heart just shattered on the spot. I crouched down, very concerned, and I said, "Hey, how are you? Can I get you something, a coffee or breakfast, like anything that you need?" And the guy looks me dead in the eyes and goes, "No, I'm all right, thanks. I've got a pretty big day putting up these trees." He was a worker. He was just working.
Oh,
Fair though, if you're laying down under the tree. I think she did the right thing.
I think
kind.
I think he was like trying to fix something. Like
He
he wasn't
was.
sleeping. He was
He was putting the
Wow.
base of the tree on.
Did I tell you about the time that I bought a bread roll? I gave a pizza to a guy who was on the street and he threw it at me and hit me in the back of the head and said, "I asked for money, not pizza, you bitch." That's what happened.
Maybe he didn't like Hawaiian.
He didn't. It was
Pineapple on pizza is
It's
very
fucking controversial, isn't it? It is. All right, it's time for Suck and Sweet. Brittany, what is your suck for the week?
My suck is very unrelatable.
What happened?
Well, it is. I know it's very unrelatable. Because Ben and I are long distance, and I guess because he's a footballer, like he does things every week that usually he would be on Google for, right? So I can keep up to date with sometimes when he was in Scotland, I would just Google him every week and you'd get what people are saying about the game, what they're saying. Like and he does it to me too, because we don't get to keep up with each other's lives. He'll be like, "I'll see what people are saying about Brittany this week." Since he's moved to Romania, it's been really hard to find stuff on him, but I just thought because he'd only been there a few months, no one was saying anything. Like nothing comes up. And I've just realized last night, Romania news is blocked in Australia. I can never Google Ben.
Romanian news is blocked.
Like I can, nothing comes up. I cannot see a thing. And I even got a VPN. and
To try and get around his Romanian blocker?
I got a VPN, logged in like I was in Romania, and it was smart enough to know. And it was like Romania's blocked from your VPN. I don't know if it's got anything to do with like Andrew Tate. I don't know what it is, a political thing, but I can't find him on there. So it's yeah. So
you just have to talk to
I
him
have to
in real
fucking
life.
talk to him, man, twice a
Boring.
day.
When you want to just read the Daily Mail articles.
Just get a loyalty tester over in Romania.
I just want to, yeah. I can't even find one, Keeshia, because I can't get into Romania. So that's my suck. Very unrelatable, but like I can't keep up to date with him. I have to actually talk in real life.
What is your sweet?
My sweet. Probably spent the whole weekend with Keeshia.
I was literally here like, is it me?
Yeah, I don't often, this makes me sound so sad. I don't often do much. I spend all my time with Delilah. Like I shut down on weekends and I'm a very unsocial person. I don't
Yeah,
know
but weekends are good recharge time. I get it.
Yep. So usually Delilah and I don't talk to another human. We just go about our day. We walk, we exercise, we go for a swim, we whatever. We catch up on life. But I spent the whole weekend with Keeshia, caught up with some other friends, went to Wicked. It was just I just had a wholesome weekend. What's your suck?
My suck for the week is that Matt was away for the weekend. So he was down the coast. He was checking like all of the changes for the house. So you guys probably know that we're doing this renovation on the house down south, and he went down there to kind of like tick off some of the stuff that's been achieved in the last couple of weeks. And I just felt really sad because I wanted to see it. I was like, I want to be in there and see all the changes. And he did that, and then he had like a boys' weekend down south, and I was just jealous.
I think he more used an excuse for checking on the house to have a boys' weekend.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like that wasn't even.
He's like, babe, there's lots to check on the house.
There was no mystery around that. It was very evident. He went down there, he saw the house only on Friday night, but then he was away for the whole weekend. Which, to be fair, Matt does not spend a lot of time with like the boys at all. He's not like a, go to the pub on a Sunday kind of guy at all with his friends. So when he does go, there's a lot of grace for it, but he was gone. He was off and he was doing boy things, which some of the stories, wow. Anyway, my sweet for the week is that we kicked some very big and amazing Tony May goals in the last week. We had 2 different new collection shoots, one which was bridal and one which was for these new birthstone earrings that are coming out in the next couple of weeks.
They look fire.
They look fire. I was it's kind of weird sometimes to flick between like I am podcaster by day and jewelry designer by night, but like every so often when I'm like properly in the zone with Tony May, it's really satisfying and I love it so much. And so like creatively we had these 2 massive shoots which went seamlessly, and now we have these 2 big collections coming out. So it was just a very good work week, and I got to the end of it and I was absolutely wrecked. I needed my weekend, but it was like a very achieving week for work.
And then you had to full-time solo parent.
And then I had to full-time solo parent without my husband for the weekend. So yes, I have not recharged, recouped or anything, but it was like, it was a successful week.
Love that.
And it's all coming soon. So it's Black Friday. Anyway.
I'm sure we'll drop some codes on Life Uncut. There'll be some sort of a Black Friday.
Black Friday's coming, everybody. It's coming. And that's it from us, guys. A very big thank you to anybody who went onto our socials recently and filled out the survey, which means big changes and big things are coming in 2025 for Life Uncut.
Small changes and small things. Let's not scare people. It is so important that you guys give us that feedback because we are here to make a product for you. And we've been doing this for a long time. So we want to know what you love, what you want changed, what you want switched around. And they're not going to be huge changes for sure, but we're going to make the little tweaks to suit your feedback. So if you haven't yet done the survey, please do. And if you have done the survey, thank you very much. We really appreciate the good, the bad, the ugly.
We had so many nice messages, some bad ones,
many.
but so many nice messages. So we really appreciate you guys. But also just the feedback, like Britt said, it is so, so important for us. And I know you say there are only little changes, but maybe there's some big ones coming too next year.
Yeah, no, it's going to be fun. Fresh and fun.
That's what we are, right?
And fantastic. Fresh, fun and fantastic.
Anyway, guys, that is it from us. You know the drill.
Say mum, tea, dad, tea, dog, tea, friends and share the love because
we love love.